Before we get to all of that, though, I want to introduce somebody to the audience here. Bob Owsley, Major U.S. Army retired. He is a Vietnam vet, current chairman of the Perry County Republican Party. This guy's been here in Tennessee for a long time and has been involved in politics way back when we were pushing to not have an income tax in Tennessee. Remember that whole big push? He was instrumental in that. I want you to hear what's happening in Perry County because it is important. Even though a lot of us are in the Nashville metro, we're in Williamson County, Davidson County, even Montgomery County to a degree. I want you to hear what's happening out in rural Tennessee because these are the salt of the earth people that make differences in elections like this. If you believe that this election is close, this is the kind of guy you want on your side out in rural Tennessee. I am welcoming to the air Bob Owsley, chairman of the Perry County Republican Party. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, EJ, for inviting me this morning. This is a great opportunity for us out here in the rural hinterland, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. And you're on a farm out that way, right? And if I remember correctly, you said that you've got a forest out there. You grow vegetables.
Yeah, life has its twists and turns. Never in my life would I have thought that I would become a farmer at some point. But it turned out that way. I've done a lot of different things, mainly in the veteran and military world.
Yep.
But my wife and I saw what was going on in Mount Juliet. It was turning into New York City, and we decided we wanted a little peaceful slice of life. And Perry County seemed to be that place for us.
Yeah. And, I see a lot of people making those decisions, too. I mean, we lived in the Twin Cities metro before moving to Tennessee and kind of got out of the hustle and bustle. I mean, we're still in a neighborhood. We're not on a farm, but really tried to get away from the downtown hustle bustle of things. It's a calmer life, man. It's a more enjoyable life. So as it relates to Tennessee 7, and the reason I really wanted you on the program today is because I think we get the perspective of Nashville. We get the perspective of wealthy Williamson County. We hear about all of those things going on. But this race in particular, Bob, tell me how it impacts Perry County, how the people who live in your county, your town, how does this race affect them?
Well, it's had many effects on Perry County so far. Number one, probably the most notable, is the unexpected resignation of Congressman Green.
Mm-hmm. And do you agree with my assessment that that was a really selfish and rotten thing to do to our district?
I do. He had been going through several different things. He had made waves about a year and a half ago that he wanted to run for governor. He backed out of that. Then he and his wife had problems, and then he turned up on the list with Nancy Pelosi as one of the big earners in the
it's the stock trading. Yeah, he was number 2 in Congress for beating the market. Yeah, second only to Nancy Pelosi. So you're right about that.
Right. And so we're really looking forward to kind of wiping that slate clean and starting with a congressman who is dedicated to the United States Constitution as it was written and will support President Trump and continue the momentum of the MAGA movement.
Yeah, I agree. And again, soft-spoken, not going to be some bombastic, going to make a ton of headlines kind of guy. That doesn't strike me as his personality. But as it relates out there to Perry County, you had mentioned, we were talking obviously in setting up this interview, you had mentioned several topics. One that caught my attention was illegal immigration. Tell me how illegal immigration is affecting your county.
Well, out here, we are more of a social county. We don't have a ton of illegal aliens out here. We do have some, but they do impact what's going on out here. For example, I ordered a couple of appliances here recently, and they had to be delivered from Nashville. And the trucks that came out here to deliver those were manned by two obviously illegal aliens who couldn't speak English.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I don't know about obviously illegal, but if they're not speaking English, it does make it difficult, particularly in rural America, where they don't come in contact quite often.
and what are they doing on roads to begin with if they can't speak or read English?
Right. So that does make it difficult. I would also say that if they're not speaking English when they got to your place in Perry County, that means they drove that whole distance without being able to read our signs, our highway signs. Maybe do they know the rules of the road? We know that these are problems with the CDL drivers from California, for example, that have documented to have caused deathly accidents. So even though we think this is kind of a Nashville problem, you're right. It does come out to the outer counties, to the more, rural areas of Tennessee. I will say this, too. You had mentioned radical politicians when we were talking, and Afton Bain obviously wants to be one of those radical politicians. I mean, she said multiple times over, "I'm a very radical person." That's a direct quote. How do you think the voters of your county are going to take those kinds of the conversation and talking points?
Well, we get a lot of talk out here about the things that Justin Pearson, Angela Gomez Torres, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Ro Khanna, the actions that they're taking and the things they say. And a lot of what they're doing and saying runs totally counter to the general thoughts of people out here in Perry County.
Mm-hmm.
We're more religious based. We are Constitution based. We believe in freedom out here, low government oppression of people's rights and that kind of thing.
Sure.
It's really kind of a counterculture to what we see going on in metropolitan areas.
Sure.
And that
So how's the turnout been for folks who have that line of thinking and who are strict constitutionalists and, really more about community and religion and, less government intervention in their lives? How is this race being perceived by the people that you talk to every day? Have they gone out and voted already, or do they plan to go tomorrow? What's your take?
We've had a fairly good turnout in the early voting. We're going to do what we can to get out more votes for tomorrow. Davidson County, I believe, had multiple polling places during early voting and kept their polling places open for 12 hours a day. Out here in Perry County, we had a single polling place, and it was open for about 8 hours a day.
Sure. Big difference.
Big difference. And we have a large geographic area out here, so it makes it tougher for people to drive in from the woods, to get to the polling place. Plus, everybody's got jobs, school, all the other things.
Oh, sure. Holidays, everything. Yeah, the timing couldn't be worse, quite honestly, for most folks. Awareness, though, are you guys getting the mailers and everything that we're getting in the metro? Are you getting, hearing it on the airwaves? Are you seeing it on your local TV, things like that? Do you think the awareness is there for folks in Perry County?
Oh, yes. I believe the awareness is definitely here. We've been doing our part to get the word out to the voters and encourage people to register to vote and participate in this election in particular. This really has great weight for the nation, as in well beyond Tennessee and Perry County. But,
yeah, I tend to agree with you. I mean, this is so important. And now, obviously, as chair of the Perry County Republican Party, I'm sure you've had a push to get the vote out. What does that look like? What have you guys been doing? What do you plan on doing tomorrow?
Well, we've had some folks that have been participating in phone calling and door knocking, that type of thing. Door knocking in Perry County is a more laborious exercise. You got to put a lot more miles on the car to get to everybody.
Sure.
But that's what we've been doing. We also have a Facebook page and been putting a lot of information out on that. We have pretty good distribution there. We have a distribution list for the Perry County Republican Party that we use extensively and have really been using it a lot here over the last few months as we've gone into the congressional election.
Well, let me ask you this too, because I find that even the candidates, they spend a lot more time, where the higher concentration of voters are. That is a time management thing. I don't know that they necessarily mean to avoid the rural areas, but when you've got such a short period of time to do some campaigning, it makes sense, of course, that you would try to go where the most amount of voters are. With your big name visitors like Speaker Mike Johnson was in town this morning, helping rally the troops here locally. I think they were in Williamson County. And clearly Afton Bain had, Kamala Harris, of all people, who was in town for her. And if that happened in Nashville. So it makes sense that the candidates would spend more time there than anywhere else. But it's also important, particularly in an election like this, where we have two very different perspectives, right? You've got Nashville, which is kind of a draw on the state system and certainly on the federal system, simply by the nature of the concentration, the densely populated area that it is. And then you've got, the Perry County folks way out in the sticks. I mean, you guys are out there. It takes quite a bit of time to get from Nashville to Perry County. So it's interesting to see this dynamic, especially with such a short election time for this being a special election. Did you get any visitors? Did you get any campaign push? Are you seeing any mailers? Like, what is it that they did, either candidate, to raise awareness or to alert people way out in the sticks, so to speak, that there's an election happening? Or did you, as the Republican Party, have to pick up the pieces there?
I think we as a Republican Party had to pick up some of the pieces. However, the mailings carried, I think, a lot of weight. But I believe the television advertising, the political ads that have come out over the last couple of weeks have probably had more impact than anything else. Mm-hmm. Matt Van Epps did come out to Perry County. He's had some of his campaign staff that have come out here, and we've had gatherings for them to talk and, kind of help get the word out. But given the short time span for this election, this thing was dumped on us and created chaos. We had 11 Republicans candidates running in the primary, and then we boiled it down to a single candidate, Matt Van Epps, to go forward. Yeah. And all of that has really made it very difficult. District 7 is 14 counties. If you just get on the road and drive to 14 counties, it takes a long time.
Sure, absolutely.
You can imagine trying to work that into a campaign schedule with campaign events and meeting all the groups that have influence within the counties.
Sure. And when you've got those hours of drive time, I mean, you can make some calls and maybe raise some money and maybe get some folks to come out, but it's not quite the same as seeing people in person. And so when you're really trying to look at where you want to be in a campaign, again, it's those densely populated areas where the majority of your voters will likely come from. The thing is, though, in a race like this, that is so tight, if you believe the polls, and I'm not sure where I stand on a couple of these polls here, but if you believe the polls, it is closer than it probably should be. And I think we can certainly blame Dr. Mark Green for a lot of that, because he destroyed some credibility here in Middle Tennessee, and he's putting us through a really awful situation where the Democrats saw chum in the water and they said, all right, we're coming in like sharks. We are going to swarm this district with a lot of money and a lot of people and a lot of influence to see if we can flip it. And actually, Afton Bain's campaign has said that even if she doesn't win, if she comes close, they'll consider it a win, and that'll build momentum for future campaigns. So we're in a tight race regardless, right? Whether it's 2 points or 6 points, the Democrats are seeing this as an opportunity to pick up, a rather purple Williamson County right now. People don't want to hear it, but that's the truth. and kind of pick away at some of these other counties where they could pick up a couple of percentage points here and there. Bob, we have less than a minute before I let you go. What is your message to the voters of Perry County and beyond? Tell me why it's important that Matt Van Epps get elected.
It's important to the people of Perry County to elect Matt Van Epps so that they can continue to go to church and praise God, so that they can continue to have the freedoms that we enjoy every day in this country: freedom of speech, Second Amendment, the ability to have private property.
Great. I'm sorry to cut you off. I have to let you go there, Bob, but thank you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and giving us a different perspective on this. Again, you are listening to The Chris Hand Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.